And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Saturday once again, everyone. What is going on? And welcome to your Winged Eagle podcast for May 18th, 2024. And we got a fun one to get into today. The wrestling news is not that heavy or dark or deep or anything like that. We just have some news tidbits that are very interesting and a lot of stuff AEW related. And we also have two big pay-per-views coming up in 1 week. WWE has King and Queen of the Ring 1 week from today in Saudi Arabia, and 1 week from tomorrow, AEW runs Double or Nothing in Vegas. So we're going to be previewing those two pay-per-views this afternoon. We're going to talk about this past week's Dynamite. We're going to talk about last night's SmackDown and the "Your Mom Sucks" comment from Nia Jax, which just tickled me in that match with Jade Cargill. And now we're getting a pretty good idea of what the finals are going to look like in Saudi Arabia. Also, Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul made their match official, and there will, in fact, only be one title on the line, not two. I think that's good. There is no reason whatsoever for Cody Rhodes to win the United States title, so I'm actually happy about that. We'll talk about AEW's upcoming possible TV rights deal extension with Warner Brothers Discovery and how the NBA deal might affect that, because right now AEW is in a very, very bad spot trying to renegotiate their TV rights deal at the same time that they're experiencing record low ratings. So that can't maybe bode well for them in terms of the amount of money that they're expecting to receive and the rights fees increases they're expected to receive. But really deep down, I don't think they're going anywhere. But this is really bad timing for them, and it has sparked some surprisingly not too tribal discussion amongst the community's more sane folks like me and like y'all. So I figured we could maybe break that down and talk a little bit about what AEW might need to do, what they could work on in the future, and how they can make sure that this ratings skid that they're in does not continue to slide, because I think they need to stop the bleeding there. And I feel like they're perfectly capable of doing that, because actually right now this week I might have been more intrigued by what AEW was doing than WWE, just for this one isolated week here, because we're in the middle of the tournament in WWE. And I feel like some of the issues in AEW storyline wise are a little bit more interesting just for the moment. This just for like literally right this week, not last week, not a month from now, not last month, but this week. I kind of enjoyed Dynamite maybe more than the other shows, even though I think all of them were good. I thought Raw was good this past week. I thought SmackDown was good last night, and we're setting ourselves up for some really fun King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring semifinal matches next week on TV before we head to Saudi Arabia. So things are looking pretty good in the overall landscape of pro wrestling right now, but still a lot of questions and some speculation, on the future of both companies, but really specifically right now AEW, since a lot of WWE's future has been hammered out. The deal with Netflix coming up, even the USA Network extension for Raw, and the new deal for SmackDown that all starts later on this year. They are locked up and ready to go, but AEW still has some work to do. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about Ricky Starks possibly maybe heading to WWE and the situation surrounding him. We're going to talk about Tammy Sitch. We got some news on her, news on Carmella, news on Bret Hart, news on Saraya that we'll get into as well. Like I said, we'll talk about last night's SmackDown. Big King and Queen of the Ring tournament matches took place last night, including a big one between Nia Jax and Jade Cargill. And this past week on Dynamite really helped set up more of Double or Nothing. And I think the best segment that Mercedes Moné has been in so far since showing up in AEW took place this past Wednesday when Willow put her ass through a table. That was a lot of fun, and there were some interesting matches there, and I think the Double or Nothing card looks great. So we're going to kind of break all that down this week. We're also going to talk a little bit maybe about Uncle Howdy and whatever role he could potentially play in Saudi Arabia, or if that's something that's going to be held off and we're going to debut that some other time. Would like to know what you guys think of that, because we're still getting the QR codes and all the glitchy shit on TV. So at some point, they're going to have to unveil whatever they're planning here with Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, Eric Rowan, has been rumored to have re-signed with the company, coming back in. And there could be a faction formulating soon in WWE, and we'll talk about maybe when we could see that happening. But Should be a fun one today. Hope you guys are having a great afternoon. Thank you for joining me 30 minutes earlier as normal. Got another one of them busy Saturdays. As soon as I'm done with you guys, I have to go to my other job. Then I'm going to come home and I'll push the audio out to the podcast feed for you audio listeners later on tonight. And we got a big old week planned here on the channel because next week we have 2 pay-per-views. So you're going to have a predictions video from me. We got watch-alongs to talk about. I'm going to break all that down for you guys in just a minute. But first, let me just say hello. Happy Saturday to everybody that is here in the chat. You guys know the drill. Do me a favor. First thing you can do, smash that thumbs up button. That would be a really big help. It helps me, helps the channel, and I would appreciate it. If you're watching me right now and you like what you hear, consider subscribing because we have a lot of fun on this channel and we are looking ahead to 50,000 subscribers here in the near future. So hopefully you guys can help get us to that next milestone. And if you can do those things for me, I would appreciate it. Super chats and memberships are also open. It looks like I got a bunch of super chats to answer in the chat here right away while I say my hellos. And then we will get into our orders of business. What's on the menu for this afternoon? Again, thank you everyone for being here. Let's say hello to some friends in the chat. Let's do some channel members first. My boy, Zane G is here. Good to see you. Also, great to see Tatanani. We got Jacob A. 17th birthday falls on Saturday today. Happy 17th birthday, Jacob A. It's all downhill from here, man. Once you're 17, it's like... No, I'm kidding. Happy birthday, bro. Next year you can vote. 3 years after that you can drink. Maybe 1 year after that, depending on where you live in the world. And happy 17th birthday to you, my friend. I was 17 in 1994. Yeah, 1994 was when Good Mic Work was 17. That was a long time ago. I was such a little shit. I think you're probably a much cooler dude than I was at 17. Jacob, happy birthday to you. Good to see Financial Truth Academy and my friend Colin Wright dropping in $5. Thank you for that, my friend. Hey, folks, just finished the Iron Claw. What an ending. Yes, what an ending. That reminds me, I did drop a review of the Iron Claw on Thursday. When did I drop that? What's today? I think I dropped it Thursday. I think it was on Thursday. I can't fucking remember. Yes, it was definitely on Thursday. Mic drop. Finally got around to watching the Iron Claw. It took me like 5 months, but Elizabeth mentioned it the other night that we should watch it, and I decided to record a review while it was fresh in my head. That video is available in the latest content tab on my channel right now, so please check that out if you have not yet seen my review 5 months late of the Iron Claw. And part of the reason why I waited so long to watch it was due to the just dark nature of it. I don't like those type of movies. No matter what the subject is, anything that's dark and depressing and sad, I don't really like to watch. But unfortunately, with the Von Erichs being chronicled in that movie, I was kind of obligated to watch this one. So I made an exception, watched something sad, and reviewed the whole damn thing. It's available right now on my channel, so please check it out. Good to see Patty J in the chat as well. Thank you for the $5 drop there. Hey, Greg. Hope you're doing well today. Been listening for over 10 years, and your channel has helped me through some tough times. Wanted to say thanks. Thank you back, Patty. I'm blown away sometimes by the messages like that I get. I'm honored and privileged to be that escape for you and for anybody else because I know what that's like. Other YouTubers and content creators are an escape for me. So the fact that I can be that for somebody else and help you through tough times, it's my honor to do that. I'm glad I can be there for you in some way, and I'm glad that this content and this channel helps anybody. It blows me away that it actually does, but I'm glad that we can be of help here because we're all family, we're all a community, and we all want to support each other. Best wishes to you, Patty J, and thank you so much for Super Chat number 3 on a live stream. Jimmy Anderson, all the way from Sweden, chiming in. Good evening, everyone. Always good to see you, Jimmy. Thank you for staying up late or waking up early. Whatever the situation is over in your neck of the woods, always happy to see you. My friend Zach is in the house as well. So is Big J. Happy Saturday to you. Zach's got 5 for us. What's up, Greg? Any potential Ricky Starks going to WWE? If so, would you like to see him? Who would you like to see him face off with? Zach, we're going to talk about Ricky Starks. He's in my notes here because he is absent from TV. He is not injured. He's even said recently that he has no answers. And there has been a lot of chatter that his contract is coming up soon, and most expect him to go to WWE. If that's Tony Khan's belief, then I can understand not using him. That's kind of the norm. Nobody should be too surprised by this because back in the day, during the WWE and WCW wars, if it was known that somebody was jumping and their contract is coming up, you're either going to be not on TV or just jobbed out. So I feel like if Tony Khan believes Ricky Starks is on his way out, and there's no doubt about it that he's going to be going to WWE. He's friends with Cody Rhodes, even tagged along at the Royal Rumble a couple of years ago and joined him. If Tony Khan feels that he's lost Ricky Starks, why would you feature him? Might as well just let him ride out his contract and see you later. But I kind of think he should maybe go to NXT if he goes to WWE first. Just start in NXT, not because he needs development, just because I think that would be a good place for him to start. But we'll talk about that later. Zach, always good to see you. Chris Ludek is here as well. Thank you, my friend. Always happy to see you here. Appreciate the $10. I think AEW will have the same fate as WCW in 01. They aren't attracted to TV stations, right? And if this trend continues, I see them closing their door in the next year or two. Boy, the sky is falling in Chris Ludek's world. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. I'm going to kind of be honest with you. My title in the description, or I'm sorry, my title of the video might have been a little bit clickbait. I don't believe for a minute that AEW is really in danger of going away. One thing that everybody has to remember is that everybody is comparing AEW to WWE. AEW is still, no matter what, the number 2 wrestling company in the world. And that's not a bad thing. You want 2 wrestling companies. You know, I feel like wrestling fans are feeling like since AEW's numbers are not WWE's numbers, that means they don't have the right to exist. And I also think with the TV rights negotiations, like we'll talk about in a minute, granted, I feel like we should have had a deal by now, but the NBA's deal's not done either. And I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery is really going to move on AEW until the NBA is settled. Once it's a done deal and they are off to NBC Universal or whatever they're going to do, then that's probably when they're going to regroup and lock up AEW. And just to give you a little spoiler for later, AEW is sticking with Warner Brothers Discovery. What sort of evidence have we had? That's the biggest thing that I think fans are, not necessarily Chris, but the haters, the overly, crazy hate boner people, the tribals that, are so convinced that AEW, that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to dump them. What evidence do you have for this? Every single indication that we've ever gotten from Warner Brothers Discovery or AEW, both sides have done nothing but expressed gratitude and pleasure with working with one another. Warner Brothers Discovery is happy to have AEW. AEW is happy to have them. Regardless of what the ratings are doing compared to WWE, AEW still ranks top 1, 2, or 3 on cable for the night every single week that they're there. And they pull in decent numbers in comparison to other content that Warner Brothers Discovery airs. So this idea that TV stations aren't going to be attracted to them is false. It's just false. They are going to get a new TV rates deal, I promise you. But like I said earlier, it does kind of suck that they are in this ratings decline at the same time that this is happening. It's too bad that they didn't have the heat that they had in 2.5 years ago and renegotiating right now. They'd be sitting pretty. But I feel like with Warner Brothers Discovery, it's just not going to make any sense for them to not re-up with them, but we'll talk more about that later. But no, I do not believe in any way at all that their doors are going to close in 2 years. They are going to outlast WCW, to be honest. I think that's why Eric Bischoff is so butthurt about their existence, because he knows he's going to break their records, or he's going to break their longevity anyway. Sonic Plays, always good to see you. Thanks for being here. Spectre is here, 21-month member, almost 2 years, man. Here's to many more. Also, can someone tell Darby he needs to learn how to sell? Man's no selling, a bus hitting him. Happy Saturday, Greg. And everyone can't wait for DON. We're going to talk about Darby too. How long was it? How long ago was it? 3 weeks? He gets hit by a bus in New York City right after he had just broken his foot. And he's still going to be wrestling in a bonkers-ass match in a week in Vegas. I don't know how the man does it. He is not of this world. That's for sure. Let's see. Who else can I say hello to that is here? We have Isaac. We got Spartan Sprinkles. We got Zach Palgett. Good to see. I'm just trying to hit some channel members. Spectre's got 5 more for us. Do you have any ideas for a wrestling-related tattoo? I want to get something, but I don't want a wrestler or a company, so I don't know what to get. You talking to the wrong guy. I don't have tattoo number 1. Not a single tattoo on my body. I wouldn't know what to get. I think with me, if it was me, I'd probably get like the winged eagle design or something like on my ankle or shoulder, or I don't know, but I'm going to have to give that one some thought. Maybe a naked Midian tattoo, like on my back, like a full length, like full back tattoo of naked Midian, like with the thong and everything. Oh man, that would be hot. That would be hot. We'll think about it. Spectre, if any of you have any suggestions for Spectre, hook them up. I want to thank gigantic, huge thank you to our friend Nicole Lensing, who has gifted out 5, count them, Good Mic Work Commentaries memberships. Thank you so much for that, Nicole. Looks like you've hooked up Randy Troutman, Smitty, 5-star, Russell Dominguez, and Harry Rice. All gifted memberships by Nicole. Nicole, that's why we love you. Thank you so much for being here. And hey, thanks for hooking up some new channel members. Let's just circle back now and say hello to Gilbert, to Danny in Oak Park, Denny Downbad, Martin, Stephen Harris, Jeese. We got Quizzical One. I hope I'm saying Jeese's name right. We got Martin Reisner, Ben Espinoza is here. We got Cherokee George, Nick Webb. We have Colin, I already got you. I think the new one is in the house. Damian Drain is here. We have Mike also. We have David Brown. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights is in the house. Also Rodrigo Martinez and William Cullen, Bonkers LFC. Yeah, this story, I just kind of got a glimpse of the story before we went live, so I don't have any notes prepared on it, Bonkers, but he is saying that Tony Khan allegedly banned AEW talent from watching the 2023 Royal Rumble. So that would have been the one that Cody won, right? Yeah. No, I don't believe that. I think it was Conan who mentioned this on his podcast, so we have to dig into whether or not that's true, but that doesn't sound realistic to me. You can't ban independent contractors from watching shit on their own TV in their house. The real world doesn't work that way. There's no way that Tony Khan could. He might have sent out a text. I don't know if he was all pissed and on one night. Maybe he sent out a mass text to his crew. I don't want you guys watching the Royal Rumble, if he's like pissed off or something. But even that just doesn't sound like him at all. And on top of that, how can you ban? Like, I'll tell you right now, if my boss were to tell me, hey, Greg, when you're at home, I don't want you watching any Friends reruns. Fuck you, man. I'll watch whatever I want. Who are you to tell me what I can and can't watch? Eat my ass. I'll watch what I want. So I feel like that's a stretch, but I also don't know and haven't read much about the story. So if that is true, we might have to do a whole nother video on that and rip Tony Khan a new one for actually telling his talent that they can't watch TV. I don't know about that. Unless they're all, were all the AEW talent together doing something together, or are they on a field trip and Tony Khan didn't want them watching the show? That just really makes no sense to me. But as much as I like Conan, I've exchanged some DMs with him before. He talks a lot. He says lots of things. So take it with a grain of salt, I guess, until we hear some concrete evidence or proof of that. But kind of a wild thought that a wrestling promoter, Triple H or Tony Khan or anybody, would even think you could do that. That sounds more like a WWE thing to me. Doesn't that sound like, think about back in the day when Vince McMahon was banning the words. You can't say wrestler. You can't say title belt, or all these stupid ass words that he didn't want said. That seems like more of a Vince thing. Like Vince in those days, when he wants pro wrestlers not to say the word wrestler, then he seems like the type of guy that would forbid his talent from watching the competition show. But doesn't sound like a Tony Khan thing to me, but we will see. We'll find out when we hear more about that. Right on. Okay, so that should do it for the pleasantries. Let me tell you what to expect this week. All sorts of me. My bald ass, a lot of it, so get ready, buckle up. Tomorrow, we are back watching our classic WWE pay-per-views, and we're going to pick things back up with Judgment Day 2001. We have done 2002 and 3 on my channel. I've reviewed 2000, but we've never watched 2001. I do believe we watched Backlash 2001, so we're going to be watching kind of a significant night. This is during the two-man power trip of Triple H and Austin, and it's the next night on Raw that Triple H tears his quad and suffers that whole injury that knocks him out of action until the Royal Rumble. So we will watch Judgment Day 2001 tomorrow night. It's a show that I haven't gone back and watched in a long time. So when I was trying to think of one to do, I'm like, you know what? Let's bust that one out. So we're going to be watching Judgment Day 2001 tomorrow at normal time. The following week, we're not going to be here for a watch along because it's Double or Nothing. But then after that, it will be June. So we'll maybe pick up with some King of the Rings in June in a couple of weeks. But tomorrow, we're going to be watching Judgment Day 2001. The link to that is already up on the channel right now, ready to rock for tomorrow. I've got a bunch of links that are not up yet, like Monday Night Raw's or Monday's Raw review. So after Monday Night Raw, we'll be up here for a review because we've got Gunther and Jey Uso in the King of the Ring semis, and probably some other cool shit going down as well. So we'll be up here on Monday to talk about Raw. You guys might have to help me out with this because I did not look this up. What is the deal with SmackDown next week? SmackDown obviously is not going to be live if they're going to be in Saudi Arabia the next day, so they're probably taping SmackDown, but I don't know when they're taping it. I don't know if it's going to be Thursday, Wednesday, maybe it's after Raw. I don't even know, but I feel like SmackDown's going to have to be taped unless it's in Saudi Arabia like it wasn't when it was in France, but I don't think so. So we'll be up here Monday to talk about Monday Night Raw. Then on Thursday, next week on Thursday, no link to this yet, but we're going to be doing a dual predictions video of King and Queen of the Ring and Double or Nothing. In that video, we will also recap AEW Dynamite, and if we have SmackDown spoilers, we'll talk about that. Then on Saturday, we will be here for a King and Queen of the Ring review. We'll not be doing a watch along because it's very early for me here on the East Coast or on the West Coast. So we'll be waiting until after the show, about an hour after the show goes off the air. I will be live for a review 1 week from today. And then 1 week from tomorrow, we will be doing an AEW Double or Nothing watch along. So we'll be here watching the pay-per-view together. It's a lot of me this week. So make sure you stay subscribed because tonight when I get home from work, I will work on posting all of these links for the week so you can have them and save them and ready to rock and roll with us next week. So that's kind of what's on schedule for the rest of the week. It will be in Saudi. Patty says SmackDown will be in Saudis because they've never done that before. But in France, they ran SmackDown the night before, like in the same arena, right? And then they ran Backlash. Are they doing that for Saudi? Are they taping it? I don't know how that's happening. I guess they're taping it the same day. Okay, word is it may be taped earlier that day, but it would have to be in Saudi. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really consider that until just now in terms of what SmackDown is going to be doing. There we go. Oh, just taking care of something. There we go. All right, we're good. Oh, good to see Michael Cuomo in the chat as well. Always happy to see you, OG, Michael Cuomo. He's been here since the beginning. Anyway, that does it for our schedule, our hellos, our super chats, our welcomes, all that stuff. We've got all that out of the way, and now maybe we can actually start talking about stuff, right? And I think we should start with the wrestling news and AEW's potential deal and relationship with Warner Brothers Discovery. Now, this is coming off of another low ratings week for AEW, dipping now below 700,000 for AEW Dynamite, which is not good. But unfortunately, the fans out there with hate boners, they get aroused by this, and I'm not here to kink shame anyone. I'm just here to tell you that that's kind of fucking weird and extremely abnormal. But in terms of the future of AEW, Fightful Select had a report on this, an update on this, I should say, a couple of days ago on the relationship between Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW. And I quote, "We're told that the announcement of a new deal is expected to be kept very close to the vest, and summer or fall could now be the more likely announcement point. The exclusivity window between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery continues into the summer, though we don't have a firm date on when that ends. Warner Brothers sources that we spoke to had indicated that Warner Brothers had interest in adding AEW pay-per-views to the Max slate for quite some time, and noted that the two sides had been in talks for quite some time about what a deal would look like, with some proposals being made as far back as last year. It was also noted to us that almost every deal that Warner Brothers Discovery does is with Max in mind, and that at the time of AEW's last deal, there wasn't nearly the heavy focus that there is now on the platform." So that's great, great, great news, because as a fan, I want AEW to not only land a cable TV extension, to land a streaming deal. That is huge if they can do that. And Max being tied into that, could be part of the reason why this deal is being prolonged. A lot of fans, like maybe Chris or something, who thinks, oh, they're going to be out of business in 2 years. I think it's the opposite. I think not only are they going to re-up their cable deal, they're going to expand into streaming as well. So it's going to be the opposite of what the sky is falling crowd is thinking here. The report goes on to say, we're told that if Warner Brothers Discovery does lose the rights to the NBA, they will be looking at reinvesting funds to maintain their position on cable, as they'll need to look at other properties to help attract viewers, though we aren't sure if any of that is related to AEW or how it'll affect it in any way. Both sides were complimentary of one another and the process based on those we spoke to. And also, they have already started a new show. There is a new AEW show called Meal and a Match. It's RJ City and Renee, who I love, and they're going to be inviting a guest on, I guess, weekly to sit and have dinner and watch matches. So it's kind of like WWE Table for Three, but it's only on YouTube, and it's on TBS's YouTube channel, is where they've aired the first episode. Now, TBS's YouTube channel has less than half of the subscribers that AEW's YouTube channel has. If they put a Meal and a Match on AEW's YouTube, the numbers would probably be better than the TBS YouTube, but right now it is airing on TBS. So when you take that, if Warner Brothers Discovery, and TBS and TNT are about to dump AEW, why would they be bringing on new content? Why would they be expanding and starting new shows on their social media platforms? And for the people that think AEW is going to go away and go out of business in a year or two, where's your evidence for this? Because the only evidence you have is that their ratings aren't as good as WWE. That's your measuring stick for failure. If you're not WWE, you're a failure. Well, that's not reality. All this means is AEW is the number 2 wrestling company. That's it. We all know that. They've been number 2 even when they were on the hottest they were. When they were on top of the world, and a lot of fans were even preferring them over WWE, they were still the number 2. Nobody has ever disputed that, and whacking off to that extremely obvious information is abnormal. So when it comes to the numbers they pull on cable, where they rank in, for the night on Wednesdays and Saturdays, those numbers are great. Where they rank in relation to other Warner Brothers Discovery content is great. The only metric where AEW fails is when you measure them directly against WWE or Monday Night Football or something. But in terms of just regular ass cable and shows that are already on under the umbrella of Warner Brothers Discovery, they do fine. And we haven't heard any evidence to the contrary. Back when ECW was on Spike TV, you knew that relationship was strained. You knew there were issues there. You knew Spike TV wasn't doing enough to help promote ECW. Paul Heyman was openly complaining about them any chance he got. Other situations and times when we've known that a relationship between a platform and the content is strained, a lot of times you have evidence of that. People say things in interviews or mention things in random various places. Every single thing that we've heard from both sides of this relationship has been positive. Everything that Warner Brothers Discovery has ever said about working with AEW has been positive. There's been no red flags. There's been no eyebrow-raising comments. Nothing at all. Even when Tony Khan has been asked about this and, throughout various interviews or scrums or pressers or whatever, he doesn't really seem like he's too worried about it. I believe that it's been understood between the two parties that the relationship will continue. But it's about hammering out the deal. It's the same reason why, Becky Lynch has not re-signed her WWE contract yet. It doesn't mean she's leaving. It means they just haven't worked out the details. These things aren't easy. You and me just have regular ass people. We just work in regular ass jobs. We don't know this world. So don't pretend that you do. And when it comes to contract negotiations, with networks and corporate executives and money and plus expansion, AEW is going to want to get a streaming deal out of this. There's a lot to work out. There's a lot to hammer out simultaneously with that same network negotiating with the NBA, which is their biggest property right now. And they've had the NBA for so long and on the verge of losing it. You'd have to think that that's top priority right now, is just figuring out whether or not we're going to get the NBA or we're not. Once it's a done deal, they're gone. and that situation's over, then they refocus their efforts and getting this deal done. That's the way I look at it. But I've never really been too concerned with them not re-signing because we've had literally zero evidence. The only evidence that we've had are the crazy fucking fans screaming and drooling on themselves in social media. Nothing from anyone that actually has any relevancy or importance or knows what the fuck they're talking about, to be honest. So personally, when you just look at the situation, and you don't have any tribal nonsense clouding your judgment, I feel like they're totally going to resign and re-up their deal. I just think that it sucks that from a financial standpoint, they're probably maybe not going to get the dollar figure they're looking for because of the way the ratings are. Now, if they're pulling in over 1 million viewers every week, then they're in pretty good shape, but this could just be, the financial side of things. The details might be worked out. We might just be talking about dollars here, and right now Warner Brothers Discovery can't justify paying this amount of dollars for the current ratings that they have. So maybe that's what the negotiation is. I don't know. I ain't no lawyer. I just work in a restaurant. So I think that there isn't too much of a worry, although it's also hard to ignore when AEW's ratings hit a skid. And then, of course, the fans love to just decide things are true and then just run with it. And the most favorite behavior of wrestling fans is jumping to conclusions. So the fact that a deal hasn't gotten done yet, to them, that means it's over for AEW. Well, you're going to see. You're going to see real soon that that's not going to be the case. I am interested to know how this deal is going to look and how it's going to be structured whenever it's made. I'm sure that TABS and TNT will retain Collision and Dynamite. That's a given. But I want to know how the Max deal is going to factor in. And if they do get a streaming deal with Max, is that going to be for pay-per-views? Are we now going to watch all the pay-per-views on Max, meaning you have to just subscribe to it like you subscribe to Peacock and you're done paying $50 a pop for the shows? It might not be time for that. The money that Warner Brothers Discovery is willing to pay AEW for those pay-per-views on Max might not equal what they were making off of pay-per-view buys. So it just depends. But from a fan's perspective, and for us and our ability to consume the content, it would be much easier if it was on Max because that would open up a much larger audience to watch your pay-per-views. That's what you would want, essentially, is more eyeballs on your best shows, which despite all of AEW's issues, their hiccups, their skids, their slides, their various points of controversy since they've been in existence for the past 5 years, no matter what was going on, their pay-per-views have always been rock solid. Rock fucking solid. I've paid $50 for every single one for the past 5 years, and I've yet to be disappointed. So even when they're at their worst, their pay-per-views are still quality. So it would stand to reason that you would want as many people seeing your best shit as possible. So as a wrestling fan, as someone who wants a thriving and healthy wrestling industry, a streaming deal is really essential here for AEW, coupled with their cable TV extension. I think that's really what's going to keep them alive and a foothold in pro wrestling for years to come, is establishing those two deals, and hopefully they will come this summer or fall. But nobody's going to know for sure, until it happens. But, my heart of hearts, my gut isn't really making me worry too much. I'm not losing any sleep. I don't worry about, oh man, I hope AEW doesn't get booted off Warner Brothers Discovery, or I just don't see that happening. I think the numbers are strong enough for TNT and TBS to maintain that relationship. I don't really see it any other way. I don't look at it as just, if you're not WWE, you're a failure. I think that's a very short-sighted and stupid way to look at the business, because that's not accurate. And the wrestling business needs these two companies on cable TV, because we've seen how great the business has been in the past couple of years. Wrestling's cool again. Shit, the past 10 or 12 years I've been doing this YouTube channel, we've been watching nothing but shit. I've been reviewing shit, garbage, crap for a decade. Finally, we got a business that's booming again. It's not ready for the downswing yet. I think wrestling is still hot. It's still exciting. It's cool again. And I think it's a property that any, major cable network would want to have, especially from a company that has an excellent talent roster, which they do. So we will keep our eye on that whole AEW Warner Brothers Discovery situation. But because of the low ratings right now. And honestly, a lot of what they're doing, I did enjoy Dynamite this week a lot. I really did. But I got to admit, there have been a lot of Dynamites in the last couple of months that really haven't felt like can't miss TV, you know? A lot of these Dynamites, I kind of been casually watching the results or reading the results, coming up here and talking about them. You know, a lot of the shows have been a little bit less inspiring. This past week was different, though. I really thought they had a lot going on Wednesday that interested me, and they did a good job of taking themselves into Double or Nothing. And I like the way a lot of these matches are set up. But overall, you know, for the past few months, AEW has felt like kind of a missable show at times, and that's not good. That is not good. That is why the ratings are lower, is, you know, when even fans like me, well, I got to work on Wednesday night anyway. You know, yes, I record the show, but then I watch it back at twice the speed and try to get as many notes in as I can. I'm just kind of like brushing through it, and I'm not really absorbing it, you know, the way I would something that was really compelling or intriguing to me. It was a little bit different this week because I thought AEW had some good segments and some good matches, but, you know, overall there has been an interest decrease across the board in their product, and I would never debate that because even I have felt a little bit of an interest decrease in the past couple of months consuming their product, and that's unfortunate. So, you know, wrestling is peaks and valleys, you know, just, you know, that's the way the business is. That's the way the numbers are. That's the way the ratings are. Everything is like that. Nothing gets to a spot or a level and then just stays there. You know, so the fans that are all excited, you know, that AEW's doing bad, well, they're probably going to turn the corner here, and then in a few years, WWE's going to be sucking again. That's just the way the business is. It's always been that way, and it's never not been that way. You know, so if you're 21 years old, you're just not going to understand that, but you're going to soon. So just stay tuned. We will see what happens with AEW. Once we get word on whatever their future is going to be, we will be up here talking about it a lot. So just, we'll eyeball it and we'll find out, I think, soon enough. But I'm also really curious and interested to see where the NBA lands, because I kind of like the idea of them going back to NBC. That old John Tesh song, bringing that back, the NBA on NBC. I kind of want to see that. You know, I liked Inside the NBA, Kenny and Charles and Ernie Johnson. That's a great studio show. It's fabulous. Kind of an epic theme song there too. And I've watched a lot of great playoff games on the TNT network. But going back to NBC would be kind of cool, I think, if they did. So, and plus, I think it would also bode well for AEW if Warner Brothers Discovery does lose the NBA rights. You would think AEW is going to be a top priority unless they go after maybe some NHL content or something else. But you would think in the short term, locking up AEW would be the smartest thing if they were to lose the NBA. But again, we're not corporate experts or TV people. We're just people. Handsome people, but we're people. So what can we do other than just talk about it? Speaking of AEW, a lot of talk about Ricky Starks. Zach brought up Ricky Starks earlier on. He's been absent from TV for quite some time. There are no plans to reform the team with Big Bill, as now Big Bill has moved on to working with Chris Jericho and under the Jericho learning tree and all that nonsense. And, you know, after they lost the titles, the team had run its course, so they're pretty much done with Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Now, Ricky Starks is not revealing when his contract is up, but it feels like based on the language that he's using, some of the things he's saying, it's probably up pretty soon, and that probably is a reason why AEW is not using him, because why are you going to use him? Now, sometimes, or traditionally back in the day, you just start jobbing talent out, but AEW has this issue with not featuring a lot of talent anyway. So there's really no point in doing it that way. It's not like Ricky Starks has been on TV every week winning and enjoying a push, and now since he's leaving, we got to job him out before he leaves. In his case, you can probably just keep him off TV completely and just let him go. And there's no real reason to bring him back to do any jobs. But we will see if he resurfaces back on TV. But based on the fact that, you know, people are asking him, why aren't you on TV? And he goes, I don't know. I'm healthy. I'm not the one that has those answers. Sounds like he's frustrated to me. Does that sound like a guy who'd be willing just to, you know, re-sign and continue his career in that trajectory? He might be making some money, but professionally, is he going to be satisfied? Again, we don't live Ricky Stark's life. We're not walking in his shoes. Whatever he chooses, we're going to support. But it feels like he's got a foot out, and going to WWE is likely. I think he would excel there. I think Ricky Starks is a great talent. He's got that charisma. He's got that ability on the mic that the WWE likes. And if he were to go to WWE, I think a great starting point for him would be NXT. Now, a lot of people get uppity about that. Why? He's too good for NXT. No, it's not about like him needing more development. It's just, this is a good place for him to start. Finn Balor and Kevin Owens and Adam Cole and all those guys went to NXT first, and they were seasoned pros by that point. I think Ricky Starks hitting NXT just to kind of develop what his WWE persona is going to be would be better than just throwing him out on Raw or SmackDown in a sink or swim moment. Let him develop a little bit, get an idea of what he's going to do, how he's going to present himself, and what kind of character he's going to portray before you throw him right out there on national TV or cable TV. So he's got some allies in the company. We know he's good friends with Cody Rhodes. I think a couple of words from Cody Rhodes can probably get him signed, but even without Cody Rhodes' influence, I think you sign Ricky Starks anyway because he's a good talent, a hell of a talent. So if you get him in WWE, you stick him in NXT for 6 months, and then you get him to the main roster, could be a lot of fun. And I, for one, kind of hope he makes the jump because I love it when people jump. I don't care which side they're jumping to. I like it when people jump. So if Ricky Starks is going to WWE, great. I want to see what it's like for him to be in WWE again. I know he's been an extra in NXT before, much like MJF was years ago, but Ricky actually being in WWE and being pushed as a talent will be interesting to see. So if Ricky jumps to WWE, I will be here for it. And I think if he jumps to WWE like by the end of the summer or something, and he's already on television by the time we get to like the fall, by the time we get to next year's WrestleMania, I would do something where you can get him and The Rock in the ring. I think it would be really fun. And potentially it might bury Ricky Starks, but I think just the visual of that might be kind of fun. You look like a little miniature version of The Rock back in 1998 with your glasses and your hair and all that. Might be fun in your $40 shirt. We'll see. Saraya, keeping on the subject of AEW, Saraya was not on Dynamite this week. You want to know why? Because she was filming that shitty MTV show Catfish. Apparently she wasn't one of the ones being catfished. She's actually a guest host, but I found that a funny little news headline that the reason she wasn't on TV this week was because she was filming Catfish. What a world that people different than me live. People getting catfished out there and whatnot. She's going to be on that show. If you watch Catfish, look out for Saraya. Don't know when it airs, but that's why she was off TV this week. Switching to WWE, WWE has released some Bret the Hitman Hart custom legacy championships for, get this, only $750. That's all. And you can own yourself a really crazy looking Bret Hart pink belt with a Bret logo. It basically looks like a Bret Hart jacket, but in a belt form. There's only 370 made, but I thought I would bring this up because a few people tagged me in it because you guys know I'm a Bret Hart fangirl, and you guys wanted me to know about this belt, but that's not my Bret Hart custom titles are hanging right there on the wall. The Intercontinental title and the Winged Eagle, those are my Bret Hart custom titles. I do not need a pink obnoxious thing hanging up. It's these cash grabs. I don't like that WWE has all these different custom titles, a Stone Cold belt, an Undertaker belt, and a Rock belt. I guess, people who are collectors, they can really prey on these people who collect everything and have the financial resources to do so. They're going to pony up for almost anything if some new shit comes out. But for regular ass people, I do not need this belt. I can be the biggest Bret Hart fan in the world without owning that championship. But if you would like to take a look at it, it's available right now on WWE Shop. Only 370 are available. $750 a pop for those. We want to wish the very best to Carmella. Carmella and Corey Graves, for that matter. Now, Carmella has been out of action for over a year now. I think March of 2023 was her last match. And her and Corey Graves welcomed their newborn son back in November. Now, we've been wondering, since the baby has been born, if Carmella has plans to get back in the ring or train to get back in the ring. Some of these wrestlers, when they have kids, some of them are right back in there right off the bat like Becky Lynch was. Others want to take some time to be a mom. So we don't know what Carmella's intentions are, but she was a guest on a recent edition of the Nikki and Brie show where she revealed that she's dealing with drop foot, which I didn't even know what this was. I had to look it up. And here's what she said on Nikki and Bree's podcast. And I quote, "I've been dealing with, again, things no one talks about, but I've been dealing with what's called drop foot, which is basically I have this injury from labor and delivering and pushing the baby out. I have got herniated discs in my back, which push on this nerve that's connected to my right foot. So the top of my foot, it's hard to lift. So I'm literally like limping around everywhere. It's gotten better, but I miss the fans. I miss performing. I miss that I fell in love with that. I miss the fans. I miss performing. I fell in love with that. I did it for 11 years. But more than anything, I just want to prove, I think to myself, okay, I can go through this insane experience of labor and delivery and pregnancy, and my body is completely different now from the inside out. I would just love to go back and just prove that I can. To no one else, just to myself. So best wishes to Carmella dealing with that. I remember when I Googled drop foot and read a little bit about it, and it was, how the nerves can, affect being able to move your foot and the ability to kind of lift the front part of your foot. And I'm like, that's just got to be very difficult, especially like walking around. It's like when your foot falls asleep, you can just fucking limp around. I hate it when my foot falls asleep during the day because that means it's going to be up all night. But you know how it feels, you just walk around kind of limpy like that. And that's got to be hard, if you're trying to wrestle. And, I feel like I was a little maybe too hard on Carmella in years past because I never really viewed her as a Becky or a Charlotte or a Bayley, obviously, but it's not like she had nothing to offer. I feel like she had a lot of charisma. She could talk. She had a great look. She was entertaining, and she became, I think, a very, very passable wrestler in the ring, had a couple of runs with the title, both of which I kind of liked. And now that you see the current landscape of women in the company on both shows, I was thinking it would kind of be nice to have Carmella around right now. I think she'd fit right in. I think she'd do great. She'd have some fun programs, and some of the maybe the women that she could feud with now would be, kind of intriguing. So just kind of sad. We wish her the best, all the best to Carmella dealing with this. Hopefully this is something medically that can get resolved. And hopefully, at some point, one day, she can get back to being 100% and get back in the ring, because I'd love to see her back in there. So best wishes to her and Corey Graves as they deal with their new family, and Carmella also dealing with this injury at the same time of being a brand new mother. So best wishes out to Carmella and Corey Graves. We are thinking about the both of you. Someone we're not going to wish best wishes to is our friend Tammy Sitch, who is currently rotting in jail after being sentenced to 17 and a half years for killing someone in a drunk driving accident. Now, apparently she's been dealing with a blood clot in her leg, or blood clots, and she spoke to TMZ this week kind of whining about it and complaining about it. She's got blood clots in her leg, and she's worried she'll die the same way Chris Candido did, which was also kind of a blood clot related thing. Stitch claims that she can barely walk, and getting blood thinners has been a real chore. So basically she's complaining about the medical treatment in jail. Sorry you're going through that. There would have been a solution to all of this. You could have just not been a piece of shit, and you could have gotten all the medical treatment you wanted, because you're a WWE legend. You're a WWE Hall of Famer. You made a ton of money in your career. You're the most downloaded woman on the internet at one point in the 90s. And you threw it all away for addiction. You threw it all away for drugs and alcohol. And no matter how many times you got in trouble and kept getting away with it, you kept doing it again. And eventually we all knew you were going to take someone's life, and you did. And it's a little bit more frustrating for me because, some of you might be able to relate to this, but those of us who might deal with people in their own world or universe or family who are dealing with addiction, that we have these same fears for. And Tammy Sitch is sitting in jail right now because she could not get out from underneath the addiction, and her addiction was more important to her than her safety on the road. And this poor old man lost his life because she sucks. So I'm sorry if I don't have any sympathy for you, Tammy Sitch. Also, I think she's probably just trying to get whatever advantage she can. We know who Tammy Sitch is. Imagine this entitled twat in jail, the way she probably talks to these doctors and talks to the people there taking care of her. She is so delusional, and I just hope it's the longest fucking 17 years of her life. I hope she does not get out early. 17 full years. She's got 8 years of probation after that. And it's really hard to have sympathy for someone who's complaining about the conditions and the medical treatment in jail when you're the one that put yourself there. You did it. You didn't have to be there. You could be living in a beautiful house on a lake on your porch right now, hearing the birds chirp with a nice refreshing glass of iced tea as you just bask in the fruits of your labor. You're financially set. You got a nice house. You've invested well. You've taken care of your family. You're just enjoying life, smelling the fresh air. Nope. You're smelling the overflowing toilet of your disgusting fat cellmate in the cell next door. That's what you're smelling. So I'm sorry, Tammy. I got no sympathy for you. Granted, everybody, even prisoners who are in jail, should get medical treatment, but it's hard to take anything that this woman says seriously. So if she's trying to set up some sort of legal strategy to get herself maybe reassigned or put in a different type of place, it's not going to happen. There are plenty of horrible, miserable killers and criminals in prison who have a lot of health problems and they're not getting out. So I don't think her blood clots are going to really help her get out of this jail in any way. But I also think everything that she says is a fucking lie, or at least a gross exaggeration or embellishment. So she can talk to TMZ all she wants. I really don't give a shit, Tammy. Hope the food sucks. I hope it's cold every night. And I hope your toilet is overflowing with shit every day. Fuck you, Tammy Sitch. There you go. That's the update on Tammy Sitch. All right, let's move on. I guess to last night's SmackDown briefly. We'll run through some of the tournament matches and whatnot, and talk about the King and Queen of the Ring card, which is pretty much set now. We still have to figure out the King and Queen finals, but we know those matches are going to happen. So we're looking at another one of those 5-match cards that Triple H seems to like, unless they tack on an extra one, or if I'm missing one. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Let me cruise to the chat real quick, knock out a couple of these super chats that are coming in. How many do I got here? 1 or 2? Oh, yeah, Daniel. Good to see you, man. Oh, also, shout out to Max Pokebro. Good to see you, bro. I know Logan Paul is going to be at SummerSlam, but dang, Cody should be Grand Slam champ. I don't know, man. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I don't want Cody U.S. title right now. U.S. champion. I know it's been done before. Rollins did that, right, when he was champion. But with Cody, there's already kind of a community right now that's already kind of, is his title reign a failure? First of all, no, not so far. It's not. But you already have people kind of sparking up those discussions. So WWE's answer to that is to make him U.S. champion. I'm glad that this is only for one belt, because I don't even care about the predictable outcome here. I don't care. Cody Rhodes is going to win. He's going to beat Logan Paul. And now you don't have to worry about Cody having 2 belts and how to reconcile that. I think it was a good move. I'm surprised a lot of people were hoping it was title for title, but not me. I don't give a shit about the Grand Slam thing. Everybody's been a Grand Slam champion now. I'm a Grand Slam champion. I swear at least 2 or 3 of you in the chat are also Grand Slam champions. There have been a ton of them. Back 25 years ago, 26 years ago, when Shawn Michaels was the first one to do it or whatever, it was a big deal, and Grand Slam champion, the definition of that has changed. There's no European title anymore. Now there's the U.S. title, and we've had lots of titles in and out and shit, and I don't even know if the 24/7 was factored in there at any point, but there's been so many Grand Slam champs now that it's not even that great of an accomplishment. When we're living in the world where The Miz has held 9 Intercontinental titles, Grand Slam champs mean dick, man. So I really don't care about that particular accolade avoiding Cody Rhodes, at least for right now. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if Cody winds up winning that winning the U.S. title down the road. I just don't think it should be right now. Not in the middle of his run. He needs to be champion. He just needs to be champion. He needs to be the guy. If you want to have one of your world champions be a double champion, make it Priest, not Cody. That's my opinion. Daniel Mendiola, good to see you. Celebrating turning 34 this weekend. Cheers. All right, we got a 17-year-old and a 34-year-old in the chat. He's half your age, and I'm older than both you fools, because I'm, just older. Happy birthday, Daniel, 34. That would have been 2011 for me. I think I would have been 34. So happy birthday to you, my friend. Me and Daniel spent some time together at WrestleMania last year over at the LA Sports Complex outside of crypto.com. Daniel, you better be in Vegas, man. You better be there. Who else is here? Masta. Masta MS21, thank you for the $10. First super chat on a live stream. Well, thank you, my friend. Hey, Greg, greetings from France. France, all the way from France. You were at Backlash with most people declaring us as one of the best crowds in WWE history. You were. What is your top 5 shows based on awesome crowds? Top 5s are hard to me to think of off the top of my head, but one of them is definitely Money in the Bank 2011 with Punk and John Cena. Other than that, though, I'd have to say probably one of those Raws after Manias and a lot of international crowds. Y'all were great. Backlash was tremendous. A couple of those shows they've held at the O2 Arena in London have been off the charts. Down in our own, kind of neighborhood last year, Backlash in San Juan, Puerto Rico was also a super hot crowd. But to try to think about the top 5 hottest, I'd have to really give that some thought. But Money in the Bank is definitely on the list. So's Backlash from Puerto Rico. So's Backlash from France. And at least one show from London. And there might even be more. But I got to think about that a little bit, Masta. Thank you so much for the generous drop. And I appreciate you being here. Also good to see Population 420. Rumor is AEW going to HBO Max. Fine. I wouldn't even care if they left cable and went to streaming. Just make sure they're available. I wouldn't care if WWE just got completely off USA and just went to Peacock. I don't give a shit. I'm watching, so what do I care? But if that's what happens, then that might be what happens. And a lot of fans really want NBA to stay on TNT. I just hope everybody winds up happy. That's what I hope, Population, is that all of this gets hammered out in a way that benefits as many people as possible. You know what I'm saying? All right, right on. Where did we leave off? I think I was going to get into SmackDown, right? Yes, SmackDown. That's what we're going to talk about. SmackDown. Last night, SmackDown Live. We had the big contract signing between Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul. Now, Cody Rhodes and Logan set up their match in Saudi Arabia last week on SmackDown because we were wondering after Backlash, after Cody beat AJ, well, what the hell does he do now at King and Queen of the Ring? We had that question answered rather rapidly with Logan Paul and Cody accepting each other's challenges, so to speak. But WWE never told us what kind of a match it was going to be. All they were saying is that it was a champion versus champion match. File under Sherlock, no shit. Yeah, we know that. They're both champions. It's a champion versus champion match. Which belts are on the line here? Neither one? Is this just an attraction match, something sexy to put on the marquee for Saudi Arabia? Or are there going to be actually stakes here? Well, I like the way they set this up on TV. WWE has made the conscious decision behind the scenes to only make Cody Rhodes' belt up for grabs. But I appreciate them creating kind of like a storyline reason as to why. They didn't just make this ruling willy-nilly. They had Logan Paul and Cody sit down to sign their contracts. And I think Cody going into this is under the assumption that it's title for title. Well, Logan's got his posse of dickheads. I don't know who these guys were, but they were so annoying to look at, just goofing off. I want to reach through the screen and choke their little fucking necks. And he also had his dickbag lawyer with him. And so Cody's like got his contract or whatever, and they're talking, they're jaw-jacking. And Logan says he doesn't really like this contract. He read it. He doesn't like it. He's got a new contract that his lawyer gives him, and he explains the new contract means that it's only for Cody Rhodes' championship, not for Logan Paul's. And Logan explains in a very poor way why Cody Rhodes doesn't deserve. Cody Rhodes hasn't done anything. I'm gonna repeat that. Cody Rhodes hasn't done anything to earn a U.S. title shot. The only thing Cody Rhodes has done is beat the most dominant champion of the last 4 years in the main of WrestleMania, squeaky ass, fucking clean in the middle. Only that. That's all he's done. I like that. I like Logan Paul being such an obnoxious, delusional douche that he will say something like that. So I like that he's taking the top star, most successful star currently right now in the company and asking what he has done to earn a secondary title shot. That's hilarious. But the way they turned that into Logan's douchey character being the reason that only Cody's title is on the line was smart. I'd rather have them do it this way than just decide, oh, it's just for Cody's title. They're actually explaining why it's not for Logan Paul's title. We know why, because it really wouldn't make a lot of sense for Cody to win the U.S. title. I just wouldn't want that. You know, when Seth Rollins beat John Cena, that SummerSlam that one year, Jon Stewart got involved in that match, remember, and he won the U.S. title. That was fine and everything, but now you're putting Cody in a situation where he's going to have to lose while he's world champion, but then still be world champion afterwards, I guess. If he has a match just for the U.S. title, that's putting way too much on Cody Rhodes' shoulders. I do not recommend that, and I'm very, very happy that it's only for his championship. Because what that tells us is that Cody is going to win, which is great, and I'm sure the match is going to be great. Every time Logan Paul has been put on this stage, he's been in Saudi Arabia before working with Roman Reigns. That match was tremendous. I think this is just going to be a fun match to give the audience in Saudi Arabia and the audience here at home. This one should be a barn burner, and it's going to be great, and Cody's going to beat him. And now we don't have to worry about Cody being a double champion, and how do you reconcile or rectify that after the fact if you want to get one of those belts back off of him again. So the U.S. title would be in the way. He doesn't need it. It's pointless for it to be on the line, and I'm glad that it's not. But Logan Paul, after he ran down Cody and basically called him worthless, and he hasn't done anything to earn a shot at his title, Cody just gets up. He goes, "Let me tell you something, you fly-by-night human hat rack," and goes off on him, even mentions Mike Tyson. And I think that fight is in July, but he's like, in a couple of months, a WWE Hall of Famer is going to knock out your brother, and in 9 days, I'm going to knock out you. And he winds up, I think Logan goes for a punch. Cody counters it, clotheslines Logan Paul over the top rope, and then power bombs one of Logan's douche nozzles through the contract table to close out the segment. So Cody and Logan is now official. Cody did, by the way, when he was pissed off, sign the contract. Fine, you little prick, I'll sign it. Sign the contract. That match is now set, and it's only for Cody's championship. I kind of like that. We had the Queen and King of the Ring tournaments continuing last night on SmackDown as well, and I predicted the two women's matches wrong. I had them reversed. I thought that Tiffany Stratton was going to find a way to upset Bianca Belair, and that Jade Cargill was going to beat Nia Jax, and it would be a Tiffany and Jade semifinal match next week. I had it reversed. Bianca Belair actually defeated Tiffany Stratton, hit her with the KOD for the win. And I don't know about y'all, but I think it's really messed up that WWE made Bianca Belair wrestle pregnant. That's pretty irresponsible, because as we know, she's pregnant now. The reason we know this is because Montez Ford was having fun on his Instagram, and we just jumped to that conclusion. Yesterday before SmackDown, maybe a couple of hours, a portion of the internet was going a little bit crazy because Bianca Belair was apparently pulled from the previous live event. At the same time, fans noticed that Montez Ford's Instagram description or whatever, bio, changed from father of 2 to father of 3. So the fans took that and the fact that Bianca Belair was pulled from a live event, she must be pregnant. And they ran with that for a couple of hours until it was time for Bianca Belair to get in the ring and actually have a match. At last check, Montez Ford has updated his bio a couple of times, and I think the last one I saw, he had 9 kids now. He was a father of 9. So he had like 6 babies in one day. Right on. Teach us how, Montez Ford. So anyway, that's kind of a non-story. Bianca is not pregnant, and she was victorious, and she will move on to the semifinals now to battle the winner of Nia Jax and Jade Cargill. Now, that was going to be extremely predictable, Nia and Jade, because you're not going to do Bianca and Jade on TV next week on what's probably going to be a taped SmackDown for the same reason that you're not going to do Gunther and Dragunov yet. You just got to hold off on that one. Now, granted, if they gave us that match, it would be pretty awesome to get that match on free TV. But at the same time, you got to wait on that one, you know? So that gave away the ending that Nia Jax was probably going to beat Jade Cargill. And I like how they did the finish because they were able to construct it in a way that protected Jade. And he didn't have to just beat her. So Nia Jax and Jade are brawling on the outside of the ring. Jade Cargill's daughter is there, and she's just a little kid, and she's in the front row, and Nia Jax throws Jade into the barricade right in front of her daughter, and then goes right up to the kid, looks right in the face, and goes, "Your mom sucks." And Jade's daughter goes, no, she doesn't. That was fucking great. That was such a great moment. It almost wanted me to almost made me want to get unvaxxed. I cannot believe how much I am loving Nia Jax in the WWE, returning to the WWE. When she was gone, I never wanted to see her ass again. Every time her name was brought up, I'm like, please don't bring her fucking back. But almost instantly, since she was brought back, Triple H just knows how to use her, and he just has been spectacular. She's been spectacular. Her work has been great, and she's funny. I mean, I got to give her credit. She's funny. So I liked all of that. But then that was done as a way to kind of rile up Jade Cargill. So then Nia Jax goes to get a chair, and then Jade Cargill takes it from her and then, basically just sees red and uses the chair, whacks Nia Jax over the top of the head. Referee sees this, of course, calls for the bell. Nia Jax gets the win via DQ, and we avoid doing Bianca and Jade yet. So next week it will be Bianca Belair versus Nia Jax, the winner going to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. And since I feel like it's going to be Io Sky, on the Raw side, I feel like it's got to be Bianca next week. I think Bianca will beat Nia Jax. Maybe Jade Cargill will come down and be a part of that, or get a little bit of revenge next week, helping her friend beat Nia Jax and then go to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. That's the way I see it happening. But then again, I had both of these matches wrong, so don't listen to my ass. After the disqualification, the two kept brawling and there was a big pull apart. So they kept fighting. A bunch of referees and officials came out, tried to separate them. So we're probably going to get a rematch there, I guess. I mean, they might chuck that one in Saudi. You think we might just get that one added as an attraction match? Jade Cargill versus Nia Jax in Saudi Arabia? They might wait on that one. That might be Clash at the Castle. Maybe they do it there. But then again, Jade and Bianca are tag team champions, so they're probably going to be a team once this tournament is over again. So we will see. But definitely with that pull-apart brawl we saw last night, Jade and Nia will meet again, and I'm sure that is where Jade will put her down. Men's side of the tournament now, King of the Ring, we had Tama Tonga taking on LA Knight, and there was the video of Tama backstage psyching himself up for his match, and he's going and he's making these crazy noises, and he sounded exactly the way Beavis sounds 5 seconds before he turns into Cornholio. So I don't know what he was on, but he was getting himself psyched up for his match against LA Knight. Kind of knew how this one was going to go. Bloodline was out there. They distract LA Knight just long enough for him to return to the ring and eat Tama's finisher. So Solo and Tonga Loa were out there. They just offered a little bit of distraction, allowing Tama Tonga to get the win. Now, Solo is out there now. He's wearing this red suit, and he looks a little bit ridiculous, but I like it. There's also been the story this past week about some internal concern in WWE that when Jacob Fatu inevitably comes in, that he's going to outshine Solo Sikoa. That's a very real possibility because Jacob Fatu is better than Solo Sikoa. He's tremendous. He's amazing. And when he does come in, he's going to be capturing a lot of eyeballs. I still think and feel like he needs to join this version of the Bloodline, not the OG version, but maybe part of the reason why we haven't seen him yet is because they're holding off. But also right now, I don't know when a good time to debut him would be. I wouldn't debut him in Saudi because there's nothing really going on. Tama Tonga won here, and the match later on was Randy Orton defeating Carmelo Hayes. Great match. It was really cool to see them wrestle and interact, and Carmelo getting that rub from Orton. And Randy Orton got the win with an RKO off a springboard out of nowhere. Great finish, and Orton's going to move forward and take on Tama next week. But I feel like we've all had Randy Orton and Gunther penciled in as our final. But we could be wrong about that. It could be Tama Tonga and Jey Uso. But that means Jey Uso's got to beat Gunther. And unless they do a finish on Raw like they did with Nia and Jade last night, I don't want to see Gunther go down clean to Jey Uso. Jey Uso's crazy over. That whole fucking entrance is becoming a huge thing. Maybe WWE is saying, we got to run with this while it's hot. Let's have Jey Uso. Let's give him the upset win over Gunther on Monday night. Let's just fucking do it. And let's have Tama Tonga escape Randy Orton. It's Tama and Jey Uso for the finals of the King of the Ring. And that's when Jacob Fatu debuts and helps Tama Tonga become King of the Ring. Maybe. but that's not what I want. I'd rather see Gunther and Orton. That match is just, ooh. We got to see that, guys. I got to see Randy Orton and Gunther. I've always wanted to see it. We've never seen it. We got a great chance of getting it here. That's the match I want. So unless they go in the other direction, that means if it's going to be Orton and Gunther, that Orton's got to beat Tama Tonga next week. So there doesn't really feel like any time in the immediate future a good time to debut Jacob Fatu, unless they just bring him out on SmackDown randomly. But I feel like he's going to debut like in a match or something. So, I mean, maybe it's a match with Solo, but I mean, there's no champion I would put a belt on Solo Sikoa is what I would do. But Logan Paul's got the US, so I don't really know how you achieve that. I don't know what they do there, but whenever, maybe they hold it off until SummerSlam. We don't know. But when Jacob Fatu gets there, it's going to be interesting to see how he interacts with Solo Sikoa and how the fans compare the two of them. And with Solo, you know, my theory on this whole thing, I talked about this on last week's episode, the way he's kind of talking to Paul Heyman, and last week he asked Heyman, you haven't talked to Roman, right? And then Heyman was like, no. And then Solo goes, well, I have. And I'm like, that right there is telling you something. And my theory is that Heyman is just working Solo, you know, because Heyman is not stupid. Heyman has been in this business for 4+ decades. And the way he seems so whimpering and cowering, you know, at the sight of Solo and these other guys, and he just seems so weak and frail and helpless. Paul Heyman is a manipulator. Paul Heyman is a master manipulator. So in my mind, Paul Heyman has been communicating with Roman Reigns, and he's just telling Solo that he hasn't, so Solo can continue digging himself a hole of lies. Because now he's just openly lying. Heyman knows he's lying. Roman knows he's lying. The audience doesn't quite know he's lying, but we're suspicious. You know, and it's possible that maybe he's not talking to Roman. He's talking to The Rock. Maybe Solo's talking to The Rock. Heyman is talking to Roman. That is also a very likely possibility. Either way, when we get to November at the Survivor Series, and we're going to do the big War Games match, and it's going to be the Bloodline Civil War, I'm assuming it's going to be Roman and the Usos and hopefully Sami Zayn against Solo and Tama and Tonga and Fatu. Unless they feel like Fatu is going to be too over and they put him with the baby faces. I don't know. But the Bloodline story right now, I feel, is just kind of treading water because the King of the Ring is more about the tournament and stuff, and there's really no strong story with the Bloodline outside of this tournament. So maybe Clash at the Castle, Money in the Bank might be another one. You put a Bloodline member, maybe like a Solo Sikoa, in Money in the Bank, and you have Jacob Fatu debut there and help him win the briefcase. That might be what you do. I would love to see like Kevin Owens or even LA Knight win the Money in the Bank, but Solo Sikoa winning it, I think fans would hate that. Another heel, they'll probably drive him nuts, but I might like it because it would add an extra element to the Bloodline story if they did that. So we will see. A lot of stories still to be told there, as we know it's going to have a big influence on next year's WrestleMania. So we're right in the thick of this new Bloodline story, and we'll see how good it turns out to be by the time we get to the end of the year, start building a WrestleMania again, and The Rock comes back. We'll see how all that goes. So that is pretty much it for SmackDown last night and those King and Queen of the Ring matches. Here's what we have for the King and Queen of the Ring card right now. That is next Saturday from Saudi Arabia. Of course, we have Cody Rhodes defending his title against Logan Paul. Becky Lynch will be defending the Women's World title against Liv Morgan. Feeling like Morgan is going to pick up the belt there, I have a feeling. That might be our only title change on the show, because I don't see Sami Zayn dropping his IC in a triple threat, and especially in front of that audience. And you know Sami's going to be speaking Arabic to them, and he got a great promo last time he was there. It was a beautiful moment for him. So I feel like he will keep on his winning ways there and retain the IC title. And then, of course, we have the King of the Ring final that I'm hoping is going to be Gunther versus Randy Orton, and the Queen of the Ring final, which I guess is going to be Io Sky and Bianca Belair. And I guess Bianca is probably going to win the Queen of the Ring. I feel like it's Bianca's tournament to win now. Once she won last week, because I kind of thought it would be Jade, but once she won last week, I feel like it would be Bianca before it would be Io Sky. So I feel like it's going to be a Bianca and Io final with Bianca winning. That's my guess. And with the men's, I think it's got to be Gunther. And also, will we see Uncle Howdy, any sort of debut there? I don't really feel like it's going to happen there because it would be out of place for them to show up in the Cody and Logan match unless it's to attack Cody and Cody's next opponent is going to be Uncle Howdy himself or something, Bo Dallas. I don't really see how they would fit into the Saudi Arabia card. So I don't think we're going to get any sort of debut yet for Uncle Howdy, but I definitely think it's coming this summer and we will definitely see them by SummerSlam. Let's transition now over to the AEW Dynamite. So we had a pretty good episode this past week. I loved what they did with Adam Copeland and the House of Black. Now, Adam Copeland, I guess, had challenged Malachi Black to a barbed wire steel cage match for the TNT title at Double or Nothing. And House of Black responded by attacking Adam Copeland in the aisleway. They beat the crap out of him in the ring. Malachi Black took off, or he instructed his crew to take off Adam Copeland's wedding ring, and he stole it and put it in his pocket. Kyle O'Reilly tried to come out there and help Adam Copeland, but he was beat down. And the House of Black they executed that crazy, that triple chair dive thing into the corner. They had Copeland laying in there in the corner, like upright, a chair on each side of his head. Malachi and Buddy each came in from either side, and then Brody came flipping right into his face. And it was they just smashed him. They just completely fucking smashed him into smithereens. My God, Adam Copeland, it's crazy watching him at this stage of his career and life, working matches and segments this brutal. I kind of like it. He's a badass. So that is going to be a fun one. That's going to be my sleeper pick for Double or Nothing. I'm very interested to see Adam Copeland and Malachi Black. Interesting that it's a barbed wire cage match. I guess this match ends, well, I guess it still ends with a pinfall, right? I'm trying to think if they set up some stipulation to protect Malachi, because Malachi has not worked any singles matches at all. Word is he refuses to do them or something. I don't know what, but when it comes to Copeland, you have to, even if you want out of there and you want to go back to WWE, you're working with a legend here. Of course you work this match. And I feel like they're going to put the TNT title on Malachi Black. Maybe that is Copeland, pulling his strings back there saying, hey, let's put this guy over. Because I feel like with Malachi Black, it was instant regret from the minute he got there. And that's just a shame because I was excited to see him there. So now that he's finally getting in the ring and having a one-on-one match and it's for a championship, if he wins that, then he's TNT champion. And now he can't complain about losing because all champions have to lose. So you're going to have to go in there and do the job there, pal. So we will see. But yeah, I liked what they did on Wednesday with those guys. I mentioned the Mercedes and Willow contract signing earlier on. Finally, we get a Mercedes segment that's worth watching since being there. Everything that she's done has just been a lot of talking because she hasn't wrestled at all. And she's not really the best when it comes to that. Her persona is to be obnoxiously full of herself. Even when she's a babyface, she's kind of that way. And I'm glad that AEW, I don't know if the plan was for her to always be a heel, but I felt like right after she debuted, plus she's going to be working with Willow right out of the gate, who's really the most wholesome and lovable babyface the business even has right now. It would be silly to try to make this a babyface versus babyface match. Mercedes being more of a heel, going heel, acting like a heel, that's the way to do this. And the contract signing really showed that, because when Mercedes was doing her talking, it's one of the better promos she's cut since coming to AEW. Also, she was being a huge asshole in that promo. It's that smugness, that full of herself kind of demeanor that she has that makes her such a great heel. And then Willow, barked back at her and said that, hey, the last time that we were in the ring together, I walked out a champion and you didn't walk out at all. And that's when she was injured in that New Japan strong match for that title, and we didn't see Mercedes for a while. So that prompted Mercedes to slap Willow across the face, and then Willow just grabbed a hold of her, yanked her across the table, picked her up in a power bomb, and just power bombed her right through it. It was great. Best segment for Mercedes easily since being in the company. And now now it's set up in a way where it's not going to feel as weird if Mercedes gets the win now. Because before, when Willow won the title, it's like, oh crap, she's just going to win it, drop it to Mercedes. She's going to have a 1 month run. But with Mercedes being such a heel now, and she can do something shitty or cheat to win or get some heat, I'm actually okay if she wins the TNT title now, because, now it can put Willow back on the revenge tour, and then maybe have a blow off where Willow gets the title back down the road. But you also are going to have to put some gold with Mercedes at some point. So we will see. I feel like Mercedes obviously owes Willow a win here. She's got to beat her. So I feel like that'll happen at Double or Nothing. And now it feels a little bit easier to swallow, where before, if it would have been a babyface match and Mercedes would have just beat her, I'm like, oh, come on. So now that Mercedes is, full-blown heel, full-blown asshole, good. Then she can do some sketchy shit at Double or Nothing and take the title. Swerve took on his former buddy in the Mogul Embassy, Brian Cage, our AEW World Champion. Was in a hard one on Wednesday. I liked this match. I liked it. It was a good match and fun. Swerve got the win, hitting his very stiff house call to the side of the head of Brian Cage for the win. And that's when Christian and Mama Wayne came out to the ramp to start taunting and talking shit to Swerve. He's then low blowed from behind from Nick Wayne. Luchasaurus jumps in the ring, and the two of them are beating up Swerve. And they hold him, or Killswitch, I should say, holds Swerve while Nick Wayne picks up a family portrait, a framed family portrait of Swerve and his wife and his daughter, and smashes it right over his face, instantly busting him open, blood just pouring out of his fucking head. And then Christian takes the photo that has now fallen out of the broken frame and rubs it all over the bloody face of Swerve. So basically, Christian every single week is trying to take something from Swerve. Last week, he took the Mogul Embassy. This week, he's taking his blood, and he'll try to take one more thing next Wednesday on the go home before we head off to Vegas for Double or Nothing. So pretty fun little feud here, because Christian is just great. Christian does great work. I normally would be in favor of Christian winning the AEW World title, but you're not going to lose it 1 month after you win it, I don't think. And that would be a huge disservice to Swerve to take the belt off of him this quick. But I am glad that they're giving him a feud and a program that's gaining some heat, and should be a fun match at the pay-per-view, I think. Also, Hook returned on Wednesday. He beat a J-Brone in like 10 seconds, and then after the match, he called out Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho came out with Big Bill. I am not really interested in this learning tree gimmick of Jericho's, but he talks a little bit of crap to Hook. Hook then takes the microphone and it was hilarious. He just bonks him right on the head. It's like, not even that aggressively, he just went like bonk, but it was enough to cut Jericho's head open. He was bleeding from the head. And there's then a beatdown. Big Bill and Jericho swarm Hook. Katsuyori Shibata makes the save here and runs off Jericho and Big Bill, and that's where you see the blood on Jericho's head. So maybe that's a Collision match. Collision was taped on Wednesday. I did not write down the spoilers, so I did not see. I didn't even write down a preview for Collision, but we can probably look that one up here in a minute. Also, on Wednesday, we saw the Young Bucks defeat Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal. This was a fun match. TK Driver to Daniels for the win. And then after the match, the Young Bucks fired Christopher Daniels, fired their longtime friend right there on live television, fired his ass and told security to escort Daniels from the building. Jack Perry was on commentary for this whole ordeal, and when it was over, he got up and dumped his drink on the head of Tony Schiavone. So these elite pricks are just out of control in AEW, and it's just a shame because I think Jack Perry and the Bucks are playing the roles of douchebags to perfection. They are great. I mean, it made me want to kill the Bucks when they fired Daniels. It made me want to punch Jack Perry in his very, very extremely punchable face when he did that to Tony Schiavone. They need an Austin. You know, I feel like that could be a storyline that could wake up and breathe life back into AEW. They just don't have an Austin. They got a great heel. These guys are all doing great. The Elite are doing great, but they need somebody, who's a great wrestler with, an Eddie Kingston level of sass to them that's just not going to put up with this Elite nonsense. And a 1998 Stone Cold Steve Austin type of character right here in the middle of this Elite stuff would be perfect. But I don't know, and I don't think that despite AEW having some great talent and some great baby faces, anybody that would fit that bill, even a Danielson or a Moxley would all be fine, but you just need that somebody that just brings a little bit extra energy that the fans can really get behind, because what made Austin and McMahon so great is that a lot of people could relate hating their fucking boss. And Austin was doing things to his boss that a lot of people wish they could do to their boss. And it's all about that connection. It's all about making that connection, relating to your audience. And if they can find something on the other side to combat the Elite that the fans can get behind, in even a fraction of the way that they did with Austin, you might have something here. But, great heels need great baby faces, and great baby faces need great heels to really work well. And I think the Elite are doing their part, but they need that opposition to where you have fans. You got to get to the point where you're going to sell out an arena based on the fact that these guys, the audience knows these guys are going to get their ass kicked. That's what you need to try to accomplish there if you can. And so far, I think the Elite's doing great because I like the dynamic. The Bucks and Jack Perry are great douches. And then Okada, I'm still very, very blown away that he's here in the States. So every time I see him in the ring, I'm just kind of like, that meme with the kid going like that? I'm kind of like that. I haven't really gotten over that high yet. Just the fact that we get Okada now in regular matches on TV here in North America is something that I'm not done being giddy about yet. So having Okada face Dax in the main event, that's just fun for me to watch. Rainmaker for the win, of course, and Okada wins. The Elite swarm, and continue to brawl there, and we'll get into the Darby stuff in a minute. But seeing Okada just here is still just fun, just the novelty of that. But when he's been on camera with the Elite, he's been hilarious. I will say sing it for the rest of my life. I'll say it any chance I get now because of him. And he's been really funny and really entertaining in some of his segments in a completely different way than the rest of the assholes in that faction. He's not like the rest of them. He's a great heel, but he's just different, because he's Japanese and he has a different demeanor to him and he says different things and he's more, he's the toughest in the faction. He's the best wrestler of the crew, but he's still the funniest, which is just great. So Okada's presence, I think, just it adds personality diversity to the group, So I like that. And if they can just find somebody, they can find someone to, rise up that the fans can really get behind. Maybe we can recreate some magic that we saw 25 years ago. So anyway, after the Okada and Dax match, which was the main event, the Elite swarm Dax. They start beating him down. Cash Wheeler and Bryan Danielson run out there to try to help, but they are also beaten down. And normally you would think they would be joined by Eddie Kingston because at Double or Nothing, it's Anarchy in the Arena, the Elite versus FTR and Danielson and Kingston. But Kingston got injured badly. He's going to be out of action for months and months and months. He even had a picture on social media. He's in a wheelchair. He's busted up his leg. Something has happened and it ain't good. So he's out. He's out of Anarchy in the Arena. 1 week after it was announced, you've already lost somebody due to injury. So I guess I couldn't remember on Dynamite if they were advertising Eddie's replacement. Like we were going to know that. But Darby Allin coming out was a surprise because when the Elite is beating the crap out of FTR and Danielson, you hear Darby Allin's music play and he comes out in this big furry ass pink coat and he's got his skateboard and he hits the ring and he takes out the Elite and announces that he's going to be joining Team AEW in Anarchy in the Arena. Darby Allin, who just a couple of months ago broke his foot and then just 3 weeks ago gets hit by a bus in New York City while attempting to cross the street. It's face first, slammed on the pavement. broke his nose, banged up as all hell, still made it to the Broadway show that he was attending that night, posted a photo on social media with his honker all swollen up and bandaged and blood trickling out. He's a mess. His face is still banged up. He showed up on Wednesday, still with shit on his nose, still suffering the effects. This was 3 weeks ago. Now, the broken foot that he suffered in his match with Jay White is what caused him to have to postpone his attempt to climb Mount Everest. And this guy is just not of this world. A lot of fans were breathing a sigh of relief. None of us want to see Darby Allin climb Mount Everest. I think climbing Mount Everest is the dumbest fucking thing anybody can do. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. It's great to have personal goals. It's great to challenge yourself. I'm all for that. Challenge yourself like crazy. But do we need to climb that mountain and just pass dozens and dozens of dead bodies on the way up? What the fuck is wrong with people? So Darby is going to do that, whether we want him to do that or not, knowing that his life could end and we could lose him as a pro wrestler and his family could lose him and he could lose himself. So he gets saved by the broken foot, doesn't have to climb Mount Everest, but then gets broadsided by a bus right in New York City. Could have died, but lived through that. You would think this guy needs to recover. Bad foot, broken face, all busted up. He nearly killed himself at Revolution in Greensboro with the big ladder spot through the plate glass. Then he breaks his foot. He's recovering just from the insane style that he works. Then he gets hit by a bus. And now he's going to come back. And the first match you're going to put him in just happens to be a match where you just beat the shit out of each other for 20 minutes while a lot of fans don't even get to see a lot of your bumps and the abuse and pain you're putting your body through doesn't even get to be acknowledged as much in a match like this because you're all over the arena and you got split screens and cameras doing different stuff. And a lot of times table bumps, chair shots can be missed and you can just hurt yourself for no reason. So I think just Darby coming back is crazy. I hope that he's all right. This is just something, this is Darby. I don't want anybody getting too upset. I saw a lot of people, I can't believe Tony Khan would make him come back. Tony Khan ain't making his man do anything. This man is already crazy, or haven't you noticed? He probably volunteered. I was thinking it could be MJF. It would be nice if Adam Cole could get back in the ring at some point. And there's maybe another option you could even have. But for Darby to come out, that was a legitimate, genuine surprise. I don't think anybody was expecting to see him. For all we understood, he's still recovering from that broken foot and getting hit by the bus. If I get hit by a bus, y'all, I'm going to need 3 weeks before I have an Anarchy in the Arena match. So if I ever come up here and say I was hit by a bus, don't book me in an Anarchy in the Arena match for at least like 3 months. Give me some time to, heal my nose and my body. Please, I'm begging y'all. So the fact that Darby is back and he's going to be in this match, it almost makes me worried for him because he's got to be sore. He's got to be hurt. He's not 100%. He's still recovering from the Sting run. And somebody that wrestles like him, he just, taking it easy is just not something he does. So I just hope that he doesn't do any unnecessary damage to his body in that match, because you really have to wonder what his body is going to feel like when he gets to be a certain age, I mean, I used to think these same exact thoughts about Jeff Hardy. I thought Jeff Hardy was crazy, and he was. I saw in person a lot of those bumps that he would take, flying off ladders through tables, landing right at my feet in some cases, and wondering how this guy's even alive today. I dare say Darby's crazier than Jeff. And Darby's even more, it's even weirder when you're small. Mick Foley used to take those bumps, and as brutal as they were, at least he had the body fat, the padding to kind of land on, to absorb. Darby is skin and bone, man. When he takes those bumps, he's landing right on his shoulder blades and his bones and his elbows and his back. I mean, everything takes the brunt. And you just have to wonder what kind of internal damage he's doing to himself. And he's going to be hunched over. He's going to look like Stu Hart when he was 90, when Darby's 35 at this rate. So I just hope that Darby, who likes to live wild and obviously is very, very outgoing and likes to do a lot of physical activities, you're putting your love for physical activities at risk every time you do one of these crazy physical activities. But I mean, he's crazier than them Jackass guys, man. When are they going to bring him on to the next If they do a Jackass 5, you better get Darby in there, man, because he'd do well. He'd do real well. So, anywho, here's what we have. And another thing about Darby, too, I should say, him being back and being an Anarchy of the Arena match, it kind of gives me like a Foley in 1998 and 1999 vibes. Because what happened after the Hell in the Cell and after Mick Foley went tumbling off the top of that thing is the expectations for every match he had after that were all going to be crazy high. And that's why that Royal Rumble match with The Rock was so gnarly. And that's why he got his brain scrambled with that chair. The need and the belief to have to top what you did before when what you did can't be topped. It's impossible to top what you did. So now he needs to at least have the pressure of making every match at least close to as memorable as that, which puts him at a lot of risk. And now with Darby Allin, every time we're seeing him out there, he's, crashing through plates of glass and getting hit by buses and shit. And I'm wondering if, Darby is going to climb to the rafters and dive off at Double or Nothing. And I hope that professionally he doesn't feel the pressure and feel like that's something that's necessary or that's something that the fans need or want. I'm all for over-the-top bumps, but I'm not for them just doing them for the sake of doing them. And save your body, Anywho, here's what we're looking at for the Double or Nothing cards so far. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 8 matches so far. There's probably going to be 9 or 10, I guess, when this is over. Let me know if I forget one. I've got Trent versus Orange Cassidy. We have Moxley against Takeshita in an IWGP Eliminator. So I guess if Takeshita wins here, he gets a future IWGP title shot. That's cool. I think Takeshita should be the next guy in line to hold that title. I actually do. We have Roderick Strong taking on Will Ospreay. He's defending his international title against Will Ospreay. Ospreay, I think, is going to win that. Mercedes is challenging Willow for the TBS title. We know that. Toni Storm will be defending her AEW title against Serena Deeb. I like Serena. Still not sure if Tony's going to be dropping the title here to her, though, but she could. We also have Adam Copeland defending his TNT title against Malachi Black in that barbed wire steel cage match they're going to have. Of course, Anarchy in the Arena. We just talked about that. And Swerve Strickland defending the AEW title against Christian. On paper, card looks more than worth $50. That's for sure. If it's 10 matches, the way I look at it, it's $5 a match. No problem. So they're all good and looking forward to watching that one. All right, let's go to the chat now. And for those who don't know or didn't hear earlier, we will be doing an AEW Double or Nothing live watch party 1 week from tomorrow. So join us right here on the channel. I will have the link to that and everything we're going to do next week up tonight. I got a lot of work to do tonight. Saturday is my busiest work night. I work here on the podcast, then I go to my other job, then I come home and do more work and set up my videos for the week. So keep a lookout on the channel. All those links will be up very soon. Let's go back to the chat, see what else we have to say. Any more questions we have to answer? I want to thank our friend, the Juliet and Nicole, making it rain with them memberships. Juliet gifts out a membership to Ben. Welcome back. Ben's gotten a few memberships gifted. So Ben, you're a channel member once again. Welcome back. And thank you again for that, Juliet. And thank you again to Nicole earlier. Juliet's got $2 for us. Word is Eddie Kingston broke his leg. That sucks. That sucks. That's going to put him out of action for a long time because Eddie Kingston isn't exactly... in the best physical condition that a wrestler can be in. So his recovery might be a little longer. That just sucks. He's really fun in these type of Anarchy in the Arena matches. What was the one that he came out hobbling with the blood in the gas can? Was that Anarchy in the Arena? I think it was. I think that was the one I was at. I was there in 2022 and our seats, we had our own lounge area. So we had our own private bathroom, our own bar, everything. And that's where Moxley and company made their entrance. So they were all coming right through our area there. But there was so much to watch because it was going over on all parts of the arena. And I don't remember if that was the match with the gas can. But Eddie is tailor-made for this stuff, man. So it's a shame that we've lost him for this match. But best of luck to Kingston in his recovery. He's the best. Michael, isn't Darby Allin 31 now? Probably. I'm not sure Darby's age, but he's young. My God. Spectre, you're 32 and your back still hurts from Darby's glass bump? Yeah. Appreciate the $2, man. That was, you remember we did the watch along. I got up. I left my chair. I was out of body. You know, when he hit the glass, I was just like, well, he's dead. We just watched somebody die. I just paid $50 to watch somebody die live on pay-per-view. Worldwide pay-per-view. Dead. We went through that 25 years ago, nearly to the day. Stay tuned. Another video I have planned next week. You know what it is. 25th anniversary of a very, very sad day. But we'll be talking about that next week as well. In addition to everything else I got planned. It's going to be a busy week on the channel. See that subscribe button right there? You need like a finger. Just hit it. Do me that favor. Thank you so much. Just reading through some comments here, see if there's anything else I can mention. Yeah, a Swerve versus Okada match in the future would be great. I'm curious, what's on your radar for All In? I mean, I'd love to see a big time main event there. I feel like Okada and Kenny is what they might try to get done for All In, but I think that's very dependent on Kenny's health, and he's still dealing with diverticulitis and all that stuff. So it just depends. But, you know, with AEW, you know, their ratings in a slump, you know, the attendance we've seen in a decline over the past, you know, about year now, you have to wonder what kind of a crowd. I said last year at All In, as impressive as that crowd was, and as supportive as AEW as I am, I said a year ago, I said that's going to be the biggest crowd they draw. I was like, there's no way that 1 year from now, the crowd will be larger than that. And I stand by that. I think that this year, when people say 40 to 60,000, that's a little bit more realistic. People were just saying it last year because they refused to believe they're actually going to draw a big number here, and they were butthurt about it. But this year, that is a little bit more realistic of a number for All In. I could see them doing in the 50,000 range. I think 80,000 is out. You know, I think it's going to be more of a 50, perhaps 60 if they're lucky. I don't think it's going to be 30. I don't even think it's going to be 40. I think it's going to be higher than that, but it's certainly not going to be in the 70,000 range. Nowhere near like a WrestleMania number in my mind next year. But, you know, we will see. You put the right matches together, the UK crowd might turn out. They are a different breed than us weirdos over here in the States. They appreciate their wrestling, so you never know. But I feel like that was the pinnacle, you know, in terms of full-blown Raw attendance. That's going to be the highest they ever get, at least for the near future. Oh, the All In main event might be Perry versus Swerve. I mean, think about if they made, that was one of the things I said right off the bat, you know, when Jack Perry was rumored to come back and bring the scapegoat gimmick in. You know, the best thing you can hope for in the horrible situation that happened with CM Punk and that whole year-long set of circumstances that led to him leaving the company, if you can't pull anything positive out of that, that's going to be looked back on as one of the biggest black eyes, not only in the business, but in your company. So at least, you know, much like WWE did, they took, at the time for me as a fan, which is the worst fucking thing that ever happened, the Montreal Screwjob, and turned that into the Attitude Era. You know, turns out, we didn't know it at the time, but the Screwjob was the best damn thing that happened to that company. At the time, it felt like the biggest catastrophe in the history of the business. But it turned out to lead to the most successful period in the business. So at least with AEW, if you can try to mimic those circumstances and say, okay, horrible black eye, the whole CM Punk experiment was a massive failure, the brawl in, the brawl out, all that shit. If we can create a main event character out of this, somebody who gets heat and somebody who develops as one of the best heels in the business, then it cannot turn out to be a positive in the long run. But I think that's looking extremely best case scenario. And right now, even though Jack Perry's great, he ain't great to the point where it made all the CM Punk shit worth it. You know what I mean? You know, because then you could argue in the Attitude Era, I'm like, okay, maybe the Screwjob was worth it. It sucked. But without it, we wouldn't be sitting where we are today. I don't feel like, at least right now, that AEW feels the same way about the Punk situation. Swerve versus Will Ospreay for the All In main event. I'd be into that too. My God, that would be good. Ospreay and Swerve, with Ospreay getting the win, but a lot of fans even feel like Swerve should go beyond All In with his championship run. And I feel like Will Ospreay, if that match does happen, will also be a champion himself with the international title. So, unless he doesn't win, but I feel like he's going to win the international title. Same goes with Okada. You know, if it was Okada and Swerve, or Swerve and Ospreay, I feel like either way, that's going to be a champion versus champion affair. But I'm into that. I'm into that. Right on. Okay. Oh yeah, the Juliet. It's crazy, man. I did a 20-year review on that 5 years ago. And I remember at the time saying this will probably be the last time we ever talk about this. But now that it's the 25th anniversary of a day that's still super crazy vivid in my memory, you'll hear from me this week about that. All right, guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go to my other job for a couple hours. Then I'm going to come back home and I'm going to do more shit, put up the links for the rest of the week so you guys have that. Also, the audio to this show will be pushed out to the podcast feed, but that will not be for several hours. So if you like to listen, you're just going to have to stay tuned for that, and it'll be up later tonight. I hope you guys have a great, great rest of your Saturday. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to join us tomorrow night. We will be watching WWE Judgment Day 2001, Taker versus Austin, Kane versus Triple H, double duty for Benoit, and a Benoit and Angle match. A lot of good stuff on that show. Stay tuned. We'll be watching that together tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your night, and I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.